Alright, shalom. We give all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. And we give double honors to the elders of Great Millstone, the apostles of Great Millstone, and to the elders on down. Much love to you brothers on the four corners of the planet Earth that's been set up through faith to push this truth and to help seal the elect on the four corners of the planet Earth. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, he's coming. He's coming, and we just have to keep faith and wait, man. Like it says, reward is in his wings. Through us waiting right now, the Most High is putting us through that fire, like the elders have told us, and spiritually. But physically, everybody else is about to go through it. Everybody, but our spiritual side will be strengthened, and our physical, we're going to go through it also, but we're going to be preserved through that, through faith. Alright, so let's get started. Now you have this situation. We've been telling you that they're going to try to tie you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans as the new face of terrorism. Okay, that's how they're gonna be able to institute this martial law and put you in camps and put a lot of us to death, man. A lot of you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in these last times are gonna be put to death, man. Okay, 2/3 of our people are gonna be cut off. All right, but the 1/3, the elect, shall make it. So let's get into this story.
Fox News confirms that an American has been killed in Syria and that American was fighting with the terror group ISIS. His name was Douglas MacArthur McCain. You cannot make this up. And he described himself as a slave of Allah. The FBI is tracking dozens of cases involving Americans who have been traveling from the United States to Syria, but the system does not catch everyone. Joining me now, Congressman Duncan Hunter, an Iraq and Afghanistan combat veteran. Good to see you tonight, Congressman. And so this guy, we're told, grew up in Minnesota, played basketball, according to a friend, joked a lot, had a sense of humor, got along with most, never seemed interested in a religion, wound up moving to San Diego, started attending a mosque, and then his social media profile suggested, before you knew it, quote, "It's Islam over everything," and he winds up joining ISIS. How many of these guys are there?
What I would say, last century you had a lot of especially liberal elitists join the Communist Party. They went to Europe. Ernest Hemingway wrote about it from Within the Bell Tolls. This happens, but instead of joining the Communist Party now, you have disaffected youth joining radical Islam. And I think you're going to see this more and more. You're always going to have disaffected youth. You're always going to have that pull to go fight for.
And disaffected youth is niggas. That's a buzzword for you niggas. You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. That's what they call it. That's a word, disaffected youth. Okay? So now the face of terrorism, they're now tying to be you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, okay? We already know they're going to do it. Esau's predictable, man. Once you have his playbook, you know what he's going to do. The Lord has blessed us and give us the grace. That's how you know this is true. If people don't believe it, it's okay. If somebody hands you a time machine, that's what the scriptures is, man. The scriptures is a time machine. It tells you the past, it tells you the present, and it tells you the future in one book, man. Okay? With you Nimrods trying to go to all these other books and all these other readings, you can't even handle that book. You can't even handle that the truth. Okay? That's why it says you can't handle the truth.
Greater than yourself. People like me join the United States Marine Corps. People like McCain join ISIS. So I think you're going to see this as long as our homeland security.
People like McCain, you hear him with their time. He's saying he, being a white Edomite, so-called upstanding, so-called joining the army. Is America not accused of war crimes throughout the world right now? Do you not have tapes of Marines peeing on Afghanis' bodies? Do you not got tapes of Marines shooting innocents, kids, men, women, children? Do you not? Come on, man. Don't say like you're joining some like you done joined the angels, like the rank of angels or something like that. They act so malevolent with their joining of the military. The elites consider you military guys dumb dogs, man. They consider you guys low on the totem pole.
Security agency, the FBI, the CIA keep tabs on these guys and the women, And for God's sake, if we could secure the border once and for all, the southern border.
I want to get to that. I mean, I still don't get it. I still don't understand why they go into it.
We shouldn't have any more visas for folks from the Middle East, from this area coming over right now. We should say stop, time out, let's take a look at this, slow things down so we can make sure we aren't allowing people into this country that'll then harm us.
All right, I want to get to that because what Dempsey said last week, what Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dempsey said last week, is that the threat to the homeland, to America, is imminent, and here is why. Listen to him.
The immediacy is in the number of Europeans and other nationalities who have come to the region to become part of that ideology, and those folks can go home at some point because of open borders and immigration issues. It's an immediate threat.
They're saying it could be in the thousands, to maybe 2,000 to 3,000 people holding Western passports, not just America, but our friends in Europe, who can come right into the United States with ease, and if you have an American passport, of course, can do so as well.
Once again, remember 9/11. Every single 9/11 hijacker had a visa. They had overstayed it. Number two, ISIS in Iraq and Syria is not an existential threat to us. They're not going to harm the United States. They're bad guys, yes, if you're there. But a bunch of guys wearing pajamas, pushing up logs, they are not an existential threat to us, like North Korea is, like Iran is, like Pakistan is. They are not like that. The only threat that lies with them is if they can get people back in the United States to do harm to us here and commit acts of terror. That's why it's more important than ever that you secure the southern border, one, and start denying visas in totality to people from the Middle East, from this area, unless they're, for instance, persecuted Christians, and we allow them in. But we got to just say time out, stop, hold the game, and we have to make sure that our allies, the British, French, Germans, make sure that people that we allow to travel.
All right, next story. Let's get into the next story.
One of Oklahoma's senators says the rise of ISIS and other violent terrorist groups is putting our country in a dangerous position. Fox 25's Phil Cross sat down with Senator Jim Inhofe, who says the public needs to know how real the threat is for a new attack on American soil.
We're in the most dangerous position we've ever been in as a nation.
Senator Jim Inhofe serves as the ranking Republican on the Senate Armed Services Committee and says our country has never been in such a risky position, especially from new terror groups like ISIS.
They're crazy out there, and they are rapidly developing a method of blowing up a major U.S. city, and people just can't believe that's happening. Yes, it's really insignificant what's happening.
Senator Inhofe says cuts to defense spending have...
All right, let's pause it here. You see this? I have that same clip right... Well, I had the same clip, Slovakia. But these is posted tweets of so-called ISIS in front of the White House and in Chicago. Alright, so they're showing you that these might be the targets, whatever like that. That they're so-called going to probably do a false flag on, or operation might be conducted now. There was talk about one in Chicago. Okay, so this is a tweet that's coming out, so they're starting to set the stage, okay?
Made our superpower status fall into question, and he blames the commander-in-chief, President Obama, who on Wednesday came out with a strong statement against the terrorists who beheaded an American journalist in Iraq.
People like this ultimately fail. They fail because the future is won by those who build and not destroy. And the world is shaped by people like Jim Foley, and the overwhelming majority of humanity who are appalled by those who kill them.
Because you have to come up with something that we're going to do, because they're holding another hostage in place. And the problem is the president, quite frankly, he says all these things and he never does them.
Inhofe says current intelligence efforts have helped save countless lives by preventing attacks. He supports even the controversial data collections by the National Security Agency.
You have to have an intelligence process going on to stop attacks on America.
And while he believes groups like ISIS do pose a threat to world security,
ISIS, they are really bad terrorists. They're so bad that Al-Qaeda is afraid of them.
He does not believe they have infiltrated the U.S. to the levels the terrorists would like you to believe. At least, not yet.
This idea that they're coming in, infiltrating the United States, sure, some are coming in who have had an association with ISIS, but the majority of them are still over there.
and they are, you know, they're undoing a lot of the good that has been done.
Bill Cross, Fox 25 News.
All right, let's switch paces a little bit. We have a update in Russia, this Russian situation. They've been going back and forth on the border with humanitarian trucks. They've been going back and forth with, you have paratroopers that have been caught over there. You have different defector Ukrainian troops that have been going into Russia. So things have been, I mean, they're at war over there. It's a war ground, man. That's pretty much what it is. But to jump back into this, now the rhetoric is being heated up. The talk is being pumped up. They're talking more and more like they're going to try to do something in Russia.
Today, due to the deteriorating situation in the southern Donetsk region in the area of Amvrosivka and Starobesheva as a result of the deployment of Russian army units on Ukrainian territory, I have decided to cancel my official visit to Turkey. 7 bilateral meetings of great importance to Ukraine were planned, but at this moment the place for the Ukrainian president is here in Kiev. Today, the Ukrainian National Security and Defense Council will meet to develop a plan of action in light of the worsening situation. We will be calling for a meeting of the United Nations Security Council. The world must respond to the sharp deterioration in the situation in Ukraine. I appeal to our partners in the European Union to call an emergency meeting of European Union member states where we must urgently address the situation in Ukraine.
Ukraine now. More details of President Poroshenko's claims that Russian forces have invaded. We're learning Moscow's representative to the OSCE, which is monitoring the border area, says the reports of Russian troops movement are false. Now, let's speak to investigative journalist Tony Gostick about the latest development. He joins us live now. Tony, well, before, you know, just the sound of what Poroshenko has just said, pretty strong words coming from that camp. Let's show our viewers the headlines suggesting Russia is invading Ukraine. Is it really happening?
Well, I've got deja vu here, Tabby. I mean, is this diplomacy or is it mudslinging? We've heard who are the soldiers, and we don't know who these soldiers are. That's the line that we're hearing here in the UK. I mean, if we go back to the Maidan coup back in February in Kiev, we know, actually, one of the facts we do know is it looks as if British rifles were being used to kill both the police and the demonstrators at that time. Now that government is starting to collapse. Also, 2 weeks ago, we heard on the news here that there was a Russian convoy that had been shelled by the Kiev forces that had actually tried to get itself in alongside the aid convoy. And that was actually Poroshenko that said that, and it was also the NATO chief Rasmussen that said it. That turned out to be a complete lie. We've also had a complete stalling in the investigation into the downing of the Malaysian airline AMH17 as well, which is rather worrying. The British here in the UK, we've had the black box for a long time. We've heard nothing more about that. The whole story seems to have died. I think what's going on here is, you know, we're getting special forces possibly from both sides involved in Ukraine, and almost everything except an open shooting war going on. And so we're getting rather close, aren't we, to NATO confronting the Russians with the poor Ukrainian people sandwiched in the middle of it. Psychological warfare, I'd call it, which is aimed at actually the public as well as the politicians. Now, the lies have been coming out again and again. I mean, the big problem, of course, with the Malaysian airliner is that we had the Kiev forces seizing the tapes, the air traffic control tapes, the conversations between Kiev and the airliner. And we've heard nothing more about that. So extremely dangerous sort of situation when these lies keep repeating. I'm not sure about today, but certainly we know 2 weeks ago Rasmussen and Kiev were completely lying about the idea of them shelling a Russian convoy that was coming into the east of Ukraine. It was just a plain and simple lie. Now,
Tony,
maybe you've heard this before, because Yeah, because Joseph Goebbels, back in World War II, said, you tell a big lie and you keep repeating it and people will eventually believe it. And I think that's where we are now with the Ukraine conflict.
Speaking on what you've just said right now, how would you explain then this spreading of the panic? Who could this be? I mean, who's actually channeling these so-called truths?
Well, I mean, I don't know about where the troops are, but certainly the discussions about them, it seems it's some kind of psychological warfare going on here, psychological operations, and, you know, the idea is to manipulate the public. And if you keep repeating the same thing, people think, oh, well, the Russians must be in there. We keep hearing this, even though if you actually look into it at the end, it turns out to be a lie. The question, of course, is about, you know, are the democracies in the West really democracies? We've got a situation now in Iraq and Afghanistan where, you know, Tony Blair sent the troops in, George Bush sent the troops in to put in supposed democracy. Both countries now, complete stalemate with the incumbent governments refusing to acknowledge elections. So there's no democracy we're spreading around the world. And I question, you know, how strong is our democracy here too? You know, where we have our politicians really in a stranglehold by the banks, by debt, and they're completely tied up, I'm afraid, with you know, with dealing with that debt crisis. And what happens when there's a bit of a power vacuum like that is the military will come in. People will say, well, no one wants a war. Actually, some people will make a lot of money out of a war. And the problem, of course, is we're coming to a sort of...
That's why elders have been telling us that all these wars have been banker wars. They've been telling us through the spirit that all these wars have been banker wars, man. So they're telling you that somebody's going to make a guap, a lot of money. Okay? So we're going to jump into this next one if y'all want to watch that. This is from Lexus, okay? To show you how fast this RFID chip thing is moving, to show you that it's going to be at your local... I mean, it's already there, but it's moving, man. This should show you that they're trying to put it on a wide scale, and they're excited. Esau's excited about this technology, man.
RFID speeds up things remarkably because we're not having to enter data into the computer. Once they drive on the drive, the information pops up. We're ready to take the information down as far as what they need done to the vehicle and immediately get it into service. Just in our CSI index, we've gained 3 to 4% already in just a short period of time.
It's kind of like your iPhone. Once you have it, you never want to be without one. RFID is just a part of what we're going to do in the future. It's just a part of what I think our customers are going to expect to see.
Now, with the RFID, customer sees their name and lights, they go through the process, they go to sit down in the lounge, they see their name on the board, they see how the car is progressing. Salespeople can go into the service department, look on the board and say, hey, that's my customer. That way they can follow up with that customer, and they really like that.
When the customer is returning in a loaner vehicle, it gives the consultant a heads up, lets them know the customer is here, sends a notification to the cashiers as well, so they're able to jumpstart the process and have the valets go retrieve the customer's car for them. And that's very important to us, is that customer experience. We were really concerned about having customers make comments about the privacy or the chip may contain information. We've not had one single person make a complaint, and very few people even ask about it.
It helps that CSI situation, making them feel welcome, but at the same time, making sure that we can track the vehicle and get the vehicle through our service department so we can get as many vehicles through as possible.
The amount of cars come through the service drive compared to a few years ago has gone up substantially.
All right, so that's showing you how Lexus is going to be implementing this, but let me get some scripts and then I'm going to close out. This is the book of Isaiah. This is the book of Isaiah 47 and verse 11. And it says, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it ariseth. And mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thy enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherewith thou hast labored from thy youth. Because this RFID chip is a part of Esau's labor, man. All this stuff with the war and all these things that are building up, it's Esau's labor. Because they've been doing this with the Adam Weishaupt, when he was set up to put together the Illuminati. Okay, they've been planning this, all of these things prior to that, and long ago, man, to establish this thing. This thing actually goes back to Babylon, to the Tower of Babel. All right, so but this thing is now being labored for by certain men. They've been passed the reins to, and they're laboring for it. Okay, and this chip technology is their creme de la creme, the cherry on top, to have everybody under slavery subjection through that chip. And it says, stand now with thy enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherewith thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Let's jump to 1 Thessalonians. This is the book of 1 Thessalonians 5 and 3. 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 3. And it says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction come upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Okay, so you ain't gonna be able to get past these times. If you're stopped, or you're allotted to take that chip, or you're allotted to be saved, that's what's gonna be, man. So that's why we say all praise to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, double honors to our elders, which are the elders of great millstone, and much love to you, brothers, the elect brethren on the four corners of the planet Earth. Keep faith. Keep faith. Shalom.